Well, Ian Ritchie, a summer of contrasting fortunes, the men going 3-0 down in New Zealand, but the women lifting a Women's Rugby World Cup. How's the RFU feeling about both of those?
Well, I think the women's performance was fantastic, and I think it's a great moment for women's rugby because of the coverage of it, the resulting sort of feel-good factor. I think we should now kick on and develop women's rugby even more. I think also in the summer, not to forget, we won the Junior World Cup with the under-20s for the second year running. So we're interested in pathways and sustainable success, and I think it shows we've got a depth in the game in the women's as well as in the under-20s. Yeah, we lost 3 test matches in New Zealand, and none of us are happy about that. We were frustrated. It's all very well coming close, 1 point, 5 points, etc. But we lost, and what we've got to do is move on from that. But I think we're still in a place, we showed even there, that we are very competitive, and I think come next season and the Rugby World Cup we'll be in a very positive place.
World Cup year approaches, as you mentioned, lots to work on. Recently, the Premiership Rugby chairman, Quentin Smith, raised the issue of compensation for those matches in Premiership Rugby that may not take place. What's the RFU position on that?
Well, I think also, as Quentin said, we're obviously in discussions. I think those have been constructive, professional, proper. We know we've got to reach an agreement on this, and I'm sure that we will do. But let's not forget, Rugby World Cup is an extremely positive thing for rugby in this country, and I believe for Premiership Rugby too. And I think it will boost the game considerably. But we have to recognise that there is an impact on their business at the start, and that's what we're trying to address. But hopeful that we'll be able to deal with this, and we need to deal with it soonest.
There's a reported discrepancy in the figures being dealt with. Is it just about a financial issue?
Well, I think you can try and be lateral and look at these sort of things, which is what we're trying to do. But fundamentally, yes, it's about money and how does that work and how can we put together a proposal that meets what the clubs want to do. So that's what we're trying to do. And yeah, you wouldn't expect me to talk about where we are, but I think, as I said, we've been making good progress, and I'm hopeful that we'll get it done in the next few weeks.
Could it result in any games being played during the Rugby World Cup?
Well, I think historically there have been games played in the knockout stages after the pool stages have completed, and I think we've got to go through certain approval procedures to do that. But I think that seems a sensible proposition, and again, that would obviously be helpful.
And finally, Ian, Twickenham's undergoing a little bit of work at the moment ahead of what's going to be a belting autumn international series. What are the sort of upgrades that the fans can possibly expect?
Well, I think the most obvious ones to the fans are 2 huge new screens, which I think will be amazing. High definition, twice the size almost of the previous screens. But I think we spent £75 million over the last 3 years. This is the last phase of it. We're redeveloping bars, hospitality areas, the whole experience, and I think it's been well managed and handled, and I think it's going to make the stadium one that can proudly host a World Cup final next year.